lost my hair and become fat, balding and ugly from this gorgeous man below. I tell you what, I blame it on photoshopping, so I don't know who this guy is. Now we're going to talk about tracking the Iranian nuke in the US, and you go, what? Why would you possibly be talking about that? Well, I'm the only man on the planet who's been tracking it. Well, what qualifications have you got for that? Well, Tim Reifert is United Kingdom's leading expert on remote viewing and the world expert on remote sensing. So yours truly can try and find the location of the Iranian nuke, which of course we'll talk about. And I'm the world expert on remote sensing. Yeah, look on that. Which is not just telepathy, reading people's minds, but collapsing the quantum wave function from your conscious verse being in order to do quantum warfare and also to do leptionics and telekinesis and psychokinesis, and that's all explained in detail on Rumble and this YouTube channel. So we're in search of the Iranian nuke in America, and if you think, well, the Iranians haven't got any sort of thing like that in America, let's jump to. So you say, well, there was a fatwa by Khomeini, the satanic Iranian supreme fuckwit, against nuclear weapons. So what's Tim Reifert wittering on about? Well, Quds, which is the foreign branch of the terrorist group, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, got suitcase nukes from the Russians on the black market we talked about. You can look back on the previous video. Because at the time they didn't have any weapons grade U-235, and had it re-engineered into a bigger nuke, because the ones that General Lebed said were stolen, about 80 odd, were only demolition suitcase nukes, about 1-2 kilotons. So they wanted at least a Hiroshima-sized bomb, which is about 15 kilotons. So they got a couple of suitcase nukes from the Russians via the black market, because we know the Russians are as corrupt as the Ukrainians. And Quds built it, and this of course didn't go directly against the fatwa of the supreme fuckwit, because the Iranians didn't build it, the Russians built it. So the fatwa, which is the ban on nuclear weapons by the supreme fuckwit, was that Iran couldn't build nuclear weapons because it was a crime to this satanic branch of Islam called Shiism. But if the Russians built it and the Iranians deployed it and only used it if they were attacked by nuclear weapons from Israel, it sort of swerved around the fatwa. And they didn't even need to inform the supreme leader, who was crushed like a flea, and his ramblings had no effect over reality, by a B-2 bomb allegedly. Um, but where would the Iranians get this plan? Well, it all comes from the Russians because during the Cold War, the Soviet Union, as I explained in a previous video, buried many nuclear weapons all across America. And it was only the defection of a GRU colonel who had the location of all of these buried Soviet nukes across America, which allowed the Americans to find them. And of course, the GRU colonel got his McMansion. So, this idea of burying nukes in America, in time of war you detonate them, giving your enemy no chance of stopping them, is a Russian idea. And the nuke in America is derived from Russia, so it's an Iranian-placed Russian nuke, which has been made from a couple of suitcase nukes bought from the corrupt Russians. We're not saying Putin's involved, but let's be honest, there are lots of corrupt Russians, and the black market has been awash with these suitcase nukes, many of which have been bought up by the West and then placed in Russia, ready for a Ukrainian detonated Russian nuke. Yeah, lights gone out. Now, with the death of the supreme fuckwit, his impotent son, Nepo baby, who's got a £15 million mansion in London. So this guy's really suffered. I mean, you know, how many clerics, religious people have got 15 million quid mansions? They'd be accused to become a religious cleric, wouldn't they, if you got 15 million quid for that mansion? So now, this baby fuckwit, or Nepo fuckwit, has given the order before his death in an airstrike, maybe, or maybe he's just too cowardly to appear on television because they'll bomb the television studio. But of course, the thing's called recording in the bunker and then airing it on Iranian TV by, of course, the Iranian version of Beatrice or Eugenie. I tell you what, that's prime Iranian Beatrice and Eugenie. She looks like a member of the royal family, does she not? She's got the same gormless look in her eyes. Just look at Eugenie and Beatrice and you'll see. Nothing there. So, this thing gave the order for the buried nuke to be exploded if Israel nukes Iran. So, the hunt is on for the bomb. So, good news here, the Iranian's new supreme fuckwit is in a coma and has lost a leg already. He hasn't been leading long. This must be the job that everyone with a death wish wishes to have. So all you Shia fuckwits apply to be the supreme fuckwit. So this was the front page news on the US Daily Mail in the afternoon. So it's been dropped down here. This was the news today. Eyes on sleeper cells. The sleeper cells have been activated. So all the Iranian sleeper cells have been activated today. Wonder why? Could it be that because the Nepo baby, the supreme I'm in a coma and lost a leg, fuckwit, that took over, got done in, and the Iranians have gone batshit crazy and have activated all their sleeper cells to take revenge, which means that it looks like the Iranians won't be waiting for an attack, nuclear attack by Israel to detonate their weapon to destroy America. Because remember, we talked about in the previous video the problems of cobalt-60, and 1 gram will kill everything in a square mile. So if you've got a kilo, that's 1,000 square miles, and if you've got a ton of it, that's 1,000,000 square miles. So one of this Iranian placed Russian nuke with a ton's worth of cobalt-60 gotten from Tesla batteries will wipe out America. Just one bomb. So you see why I've been hunting for it. So Donald Trump has addressed reports of potential Iranian sleeper cells in the United States and a possible drone attack revenge plot that would target California. I tell you what, think of all those poor Democrats. Fears of possible cells came after encrypted communications believed to have come from inside Iran and intercepted by the US were sent as an operational trigger for the sleeper assets on Monday. So, if there's a nuke, Iranian placed Russian nuke, I'm not saying Putin is involved, but there's so many corrupt Russians. But General Lebed's suitcase nukes have winged their way to Iran to be rebuilt for a Hiroshima-sized bomb and then taken to America. So finding the bomb will be the #1 worry of the Americans. These worries were further stoked Wednesday as the FBI alerted California law enforcement to potential Iranian drone strikes on the West Coast in relation for the US war against Iran, which is crap because, of course, you can't fly a drone from Iran all the way to America. You have to do what MI6 and the Ukrainians did, have them shipped in bits or built in Russia and then take out the Russian strategic bomber forces from lorries which launch the things. So the Ukrainians have done this to the Russian bomber force, blowing up their bombers and their early warning AWACS plane, causing billions of pounds worth of damage. And this is what the Americans must be talking about, that the Iranians are going to copy the Ukrainians, who devastated Russia's triad of nuclear weaponry. That he blames Biden for the immigration policy, blah, blah, a lot of people came through. Addresses worst case scenarios amid Iran war retaliation fears after the FBI alert revealed terrifying California drone attack plot. As he says, US has eyes on sleeper cells. Donald Trump says he's been briefed on potential Iranian sleeper cells in the United States and a possible drone attack revenge plot that would target California. And Iran plotting drone attack on California as retaliation for the war, terrifying FBI alert reveals. The FBI alerted California law enforcement to potential Iranian drone strikes on the West Coast in retaliation for recent US military action per an ABC News report. So this is a map of Washington DC, and I've been looking for the Iranian placed Russian weapon, Russian built weapon to avoid the fatwa. And why would they pick on Washington? Well, they want to kill Trump, And of course, if many Tesla batteries are nanoparticularized into cobalt-60, Trump will be trapped in his bunker in the White House forever. Because no one will be able to rescue him. It's so vicious. Can't open the door to the bunker because they'll kill him instantly. So you can see the viciousness of the plan to kill President Trump. And this is Washington, D.C. with a very bad map from Google. So let's try and find a better one. So there's Washington. Now the problem with cobalt-60 nukes is that it produces cobalt-60 which rotates clockwise, and the wheel of time rotates anti-clockwise, so it creates a Mandela effect. So if you're an American remote viewer hooked to your AI in your zombie coffin, giving perfect hypnotic remote viewing on the screen and to the AI, which my CIA colleague way back in, was it, 97, talked about and gave me the handbook. I didn't believe him then, but I believe him now. You basically run the remote viewing programs to the public in the US as fly traps, and then if anyone has great remote viewing ability, you simply kidnap them, Neuralink them, and you don't even have to stick them in coffins. You can release them back to their home, but they're now fully connected and can be switched on via the Neuralink and accessed for remote viewing by the AI. So it's, you know, that explains the targeted individuals. And of course, they would be hunting for this Iranian-placed, Russian-built nuclear weapon, which of course gets around the fatwa. And where, you know, oh, Iran's got 300 odd kilos of 60% uranium-235, which some American expert says to make 16 bombs on YouTube. Don't need to, because of course that would go against the fatwa of the former Supreme Fatwa. But Quds got around it. They didn't build it, and they simply placed it in America, which, you know, the fatwa was against building it, not against buying one on the black market from the stolen or Russian suitcase demolition charges, which General Levitt talked about in the 90s. And of course, uranium-235 doesn't go off. Plutonium goes off, but the 235 would be great. So all you need is a team of Iranians who are great engineers to shape it into a Hiroshima type, because it's normally a rod fired into a cup, very low yield, as explained, 1 to 2 kilotons, and they want at least a Hiroshima-sized bomb so that the Tesla batteries with the cobalt-60 could be turned into cobalt from 59 to 60, and 1 ton of that would then exterminate America. So it's detonated there, and most of North America would be gone with the detonation. So that's the future of warfare. I talked about on my rent shows from 97 to 2019 when I gave up and retired to be a humble beach bum in Vietnam. But as you can see why the US psychic warfare program can't find them, because the cobalt-60 produces clockwise radiation. It's one of the rare things that produces this clockwise radiation. Most nuclear events produce anti-clockwise radiation, which of course propagates with time flow. Cobalt-60 radiations clockwise, so it causes Mandela effects. So when the American remote viewers try to find the bomb, they can't find it because when it goes off, we've got a different timeline. So, Cobalt-60 nuclear bombs are invisible to remote viewing. Unless, of course, you're a five-dimensional being and they're not nagwals, and I don't know of any nagwals who could have found it if they hooked up Taylor. So, as you see, it's a large area and there's huge black communities where you can hide anything, and there's been 15 million illegals coming into the country to enable anything and everything to come across the border. Now, I can use remote viewing because I'm five-dimensional, but also being the world expert on remote sensing, I can simply rip out the information from the Quds group that were involved with the deployment of this Iranian placed, Russian built nuclear Cobalt-60 bomb, and I emailed to my IT guy who edits the videos. I found the location, so immediately they picked it up from the email. I don't know why anyone would be monitoring the emails of a Turkish Cypriot fantasist, according to the royal family. And it was moved from the south of the Washington area to the east. Because of course, with the location found, they had to save their one weapon. That's the problem. They only had one of these weapons because the Khomeini fatwa, and so the suitcase nukes were used to build a Hiroshima or bigger. I'm not a nuclear bomb maker, but certainly Hiroshima sized, and from their minds they were talking about a 25 kiloton weapon, which would keep Donald Trump in his bunker in the White House there forever, with a cloud of Cobalt-60 spreading across all of North America, and with the winds giving Europe a very bad headache. As I say, Starmer and the rest of the UK population would go the way of Wills and become very temper tantrumed baldies. And of course, DEI, very black. But slowly. The North American population, in fact, would die horrendously and rather quickly. Cobalt-60 kills you in 3 minutes. Low levels, of course, kill you slowly and horribly. Hours, months, years, horrible stuff. So the Iranians had to move it, and of course, the problem was that it's in a lead box, and the batteries have to be moved, and of course the NSA will be looking for satellite links to around, you know, the whole picture of every satellite phone. Look from Iran, where the Iranians got the information for these Starlink satellite phones from the Russians. So they can pinpoint the phone. So how are you going to detonate the thing? You're going to detonate it with a pager, but they want something that's 100%. Because if you have a mobile phone, someone might dial the wrong number. Pager, someone might dial, you know, you got your one Kill America weapon, which of course has now been deployed after the Nepo babies comatose one-legging, as I say, being turned into a comatose hangman. So the order's been given, and it looks like the Iranians are not going with the Quds plan, which is detonating it after an Israeli nuclear attack, but want revenge now. They've gone mad. They've lost the plot. So the NSA can monitor activity, but the Iranians moved the nuke to the east. Remember, there are loads of non-white neighborhoods that are controlled by the cartels and black gangs, so it's quite easy to find a place to put it, but then of course they've got to ship the batteries, chop them up with a angle grinder and dump them on top. But then of course the bomb now will have to be detonated by one of these sleeper agents who blows himself up with the bomb, because of course the NSA will be searching for any sort of electronic activity, and we'll get the ultimate suicide bomber detonating it. So you can see why I've been so interested in this endeavour of the Ukrainians, because it will change the world and, as I say, turn America into a totally black country, ending racism. So if you don't realise the danger the Iranians are to you, then you should be watching this synopsis video that my wonderful IT guy did for me. And that's me when I was young and, at least presentable, instead of now being old and decrepit. There's the old decrepit one. Oh, there's the young one. There's the old one. There's the young one. So, if you don't understand the severity of the problem, just watch that video. Now, let's go to the channel here, and you can scroll along. There we go. So, if you watch this, you'll see how the Iranian-placed Russian-built bomb will wipe out North America if you've got enough Tesla batteries to turn the uranium-235 fissions produces neutrons that turn the cobalt and Tesla batteries from 59 to 60, and cobalt 60 is incredibly poisonous. 1 gram per square mile to kill everything. I mean everything, including cockroaches. So on the channel I talk about leptonics, so it's child's play for me to interfere with the Clytron triggering of the nuke. Well, what's that, Tim? The suitcase nuke works on this principle.
Nuclear bombs actually work? Well, the mechanics for the earliest bombs were not as complex as you might think. You see, the bomb known as Little Boy functioned much like a gun. An explosive detonator forced a small cylinder of uranium to crash into a bigger one. And the impact? It drove the uranium to a supercritical level, sparking a self-sustaining nuclear reaction.
So that's how the Russian demolition charges, nuclear demolition charges that General Lebed informed were stolen under Yeltsin, went on the black market, and that's where the Iranians got their U-235. That's why I said it was Russian built. I'm not insinuating the criminal Putin are behind the Iranian nuclear weapon. It's that the Yeltsin regime, owned by the Rothschilds, were the root cause. Now, of course, the Iranians wouldn't want a low yield, they want at least a Hiroshima or bigger bomb to kill off all of North America. So to do that, they need to re-engineer uranium-235 from the suitcase nuke, the cup and rod, into a proper nuke. And a proper nuke looks like this.
Masses of matter. There are several ways to achieve this, but I'll talk about the main one. It's called implosive. Imagine a nuclear bomb, for example, in the form of a small ball. Inside it are all the necessary components for a nuke.
So that's what the Iranians re-engineered the uranium-235 from the suitcase nukes into. This then needs clytrons, which are incredibly quick switches to detonate the plastic explosive for.
Critical mass hasn't been reached. In order to achieve this, we'll create a guided explosion from the outside. Suppose I put an explosive on the outside of the bomb and detonate it. When properly exposed, the space inside the bomb will begin to shrink towards the center of the shockwave. The density of uranium or plutonium inside will increase, and we get a nuclear explosion. What about the hydrogen bomb?
So with the original Russian suitcase nukes, you could, using leptionics, which interferes with electronics, stop them working by simply making the detonator not work, which means the rod isn't forced into the cup. But with the proper nuke, the sphere, which needs the clytrons, which are incredibly quick switches to detonate it, then you can do just not, it doesn't work, or it does work, you can do more.
Weapon. The nuclear explosion occurs because a certain mass of fissile material is concentrated in one place. This can also be called critical mass. When it is reached, a nuclear decay reaction is formed with the release of energy. But for a powerful explosion, one critical mass is not enough. To get a truly destructive bomb, you'll need 4 to 5 critical masses of matter. There are several ways to achieve this, but I'll talk about the main one.
So, the Iranians built one of these spherical bombs because they wanted a Hiroshima-sized bomb to kill off North America, because a small little suitcase nuke might not have produced the huge explosion to nanoparticularize a huge mass of cobalt-60, especially with the English test in Australia saying the conversion wasn't 100%. So to make sure, you'd want a proper sized bomb, not a 1 to 2 kiloton, but at least Hiroshima or up. And they just use the U-235 for a bomb that works like this.
The implosion type. It compresses the fissionable material to greater density to make it supercritical. To do this, the sphere is enclosed by a shell of ordinary explosive designed to direct its explosive force inward. This effect is called implosion. The detonators attached to the explosive are connected to a complex firing device, which can fire every detonator simultaneously. When all the explosive is detonated simultaneously, the nuclear material is compressed into a supercritical mass, which results in a nuclear explosion. Implosion-type weapons are nuclear safe because only the specially designed firing device can produce the simultaneous detonation of all the ordinary explosive. Another kind of nuclear weapon is...
which is called a clytron, and they're very difficult to get. But, of course, the Iranians sourced clytrons from the black market in Russia during Yeltsin. So, this device must have all of the explosive detonated to incredibly short time periods. That's why you need these Clytron switches. So this is for plutonium, but it applies equally to uranium-235 from the Russian derived suitcase nukes. So they had to put it into a sphere, and well, let's look at the intricacies of the engineering to get the bomb to work.
Standard condition. Plutonium sphere is kept subcritical. But to make it sustain a chain reaction and release tremendous amount of destructive energy, the plutonium sphere must be at critical mass. Critical mass is the smallest amount of fissile material needed for sustained nuclear chain reaction. One of the ways to make it critical from subcritical is to compress it and increase its density by 2.5 times. At normal densities, due to the large spaces between atoms, the neutron released from the fission reaction will lose its energy before reaching another atom, and the chain reaction will not sustain. But if the density of the plutonium is increased by more than 2 times, and if we release the neutron, this time due to smaller gaps, the chain reaction will sustain. In FATMAN, the amount of plutonium used was 6.19 kilograms. To make it critical, the sphere had to be compressed to increase its density. This is not an easy task. The pressure required to do so is about 300,000 atmospheres. It is equivalent to a pressure exerted by 500,000 elephants. Not only that, the pressure applied should be symmetrical to compress the sphere symmetrically. And though it is impossible to arrange 500,000 elephants, it can be done by arranging explosives around the sphere and detonating it simultaneously. But there is a problem. The explosion wave or the detonation wave is spherical. If these spherical waves hit the plutonium sphere, the compression will not be symmetrical. To make the compression symmetrical, the chemical compositions of the explosive materials is modified. Instead of a single material, the explosives are made with different layers of fast and slow explosives. This changes the curvature of diverging detonation wave to converging wave. This is called the explosive lens. The explosive lens, when detonated, it increases the density of the plutonium sphere by 2.5 times by compressing it. This state of the plutonium sphere is supercritical. At the same time, a radioactive element called polonium-210 releases alpha radiation, which in turn absorbed by the element called beryllium. Then the beryllium emits neutron. If a free neutron emitted by beryllium is injected in the supercritical sphere of plutonium, at this point a chain reaction will occur and spontaneous energy will be released.
So, here we go into the complexities of building the uranium-235 from the Russian suitcase nukes into a proper bomb by the Iranians.
Aluminium is enclosed by 32 blocks of faster explosives. The faster explosive is a combination of 60% RDX and 40% TNT. Outside of this, there is another layer of 32 explosive blocks. These blocks are made using combination of fast and slow explosives to shape the detonation wave, so it is called an explosive lens. To detonate each of the explosive block, a detonator was inserted inside it. The whole assembly is called the physics package. There is a thick steel case surrounding this physics package to contain the explosion of fast and slow explosives inside before the actual fission reaction. Simultaneous explosions of all the explosive blocks was crucial for the symmetric explosion. This is X unit. This was the electronic component with capacitors and was responsible to produce high current at high voltage and to distribute it to all the 32 detonators at the same time. Wires with thick insulation carried this current from the X unit to all the detonators. All the sensors, timers, and radar controllers are mounted on this plate, and on the other side, there are batteries which supply power to the X unit and all the sensors. Everything was placed inside the outermost shell of the bomb.
So that's one of the old-fashioned bomb dropped on was it Nagasaki? The plutonium one. The first one I think was uranium 235, Hiroshima, then Nagasaki. But as you can see, for the U-235 from the Russian suitcase nukes to go off is an incredibly complex electrical process. So with leptionics, where you simply remotely view from the Dirac Sea to interfere with electronics and either make them spark or quench them, one can interfere with these complex proper nuclear A-bombs, while with the cup-in-rod one you can either have the on-off, but with this one you can simply screw up one side of the spherical explosion, so instead of getting a critical mass compression to produce a nuclear explosion, you get an explosion that doesn't go critical and you get a dirty bomb, the uranium 235 blown up by one side of the explosive and the other side fails to detonate simultaneously, so the bomb doesn't go nuclear, no cobalt-60 is produced, but you get a dirty bomb in Washington. Well, Tim, why would you want to do this rather than stop the bomb going off? Well, when the Iranian detonates it from the Quds force, they'll simply go, oh damn, it's not working, and they'll make effort to repair it and of course move it again. And of course they might guess that yours truly's been interfering with the detonation and send a hit squad to Vietnam to kill this poor old age pensioner. So the best thing to do is make sure when the Iranians detonate it, it doesn't go critical, it is just a simple dirty bomb, and it will kill a neighborhood of Washington DC, but of course that will end the Iranian regime, who of course if they're willing to detonate this uranium 235 from the Russians, nothing to do with Kremlin or Putin, but Yeltsin and Boris Berezovsky and the Rothschilds and their oligarchs, way in the past. Remember, Yeltsin was a Jewish alcoholic, and his daughter was being paid by Boris Berezovsky to sell off Russia to the Rothschild Institute that funded all the oligarchs. But that's another story. So you can see now why the dirty bomb scenario is the one scenario that saves America, because of course if I interfere with the bomb and it doesn't go off, they'll simply have the material, move it, and ship in the electronics from Iran over the porous border and try again in the future. So if this dirty bomb goes off in Washington, you should get down on your bended knees and thank me for saving America, because the Americans wanted to destroy all of North America, and the option where it doesn't go off is where they try again, and they do destroy North America. So if you're an American, pray for a dirty bomb, because the alternative is the end of North America and the slow poisoning of Western Europe. If you don't believe one bomb could kill off the entire West, then you want to watch my other video. Bye.